Welcome back to the Fueling Innovation Podcast. My name is Jordan, and this week we are getting ready for the Student Futures Expo Takeover. So today I am with one of our lovely workshop deliverers, Matt Cleeley. So let's get started. So Matt, let's start with you. Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, how you know each other.
My name's Matt Cleeley. I am a professional performer.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, I do various different kinds of things. So predominantly I'm a magician, but I also do professional musical theatre. I've been an actor for 15 years or so. I host events, I do lectures, I do workshops, I do all different kinds of anything to do with performance and speaking to people. That's what I do.
You are delivering a workshop for the Expo. What can students expect?
I'm not going in with, I'm going to teach you this. That's not, I don't think you can. So I want to find out, obviously, with the reason that this workshop is happening is because of feedback from previous years from the potential employers that are trying to talk to the students. So I want to find out from them what they're struggling with and why this has been a recurring thing over the last couple of years, or however many years the Expo has been happening, and then rectify the problems as we go. So it's not going to be a matter of do this, because that work, what I did in order to be able to learn to communicate and what I did to learn how to progress my career the way that I have worked for me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for everybody else.
Yeah.
So what they can expect from this workshop is someone who's going to listen to them, and then someone who is going to try and help develop them based on what they need. And I think if I go in, I don't want to go in and be a dictator. I don't want to go in and say, do this because it worked for me, because it might not for them. So it's going to be a listening and acting exercise where we basically just take their worries about this expo and then we'll try and turn them into positives.
Yeah, because this is my fault because I didn't make this very clear just then. But I think like you said, one of the biggest things we've had from employers is, qualifications are great, they're amazing, but you still need to be able to communicate with people. Qualifications, you need to do this, you need to do that, which obviously we do for university, kind of what we're here for. But we are there to develop other skills with you. This being where you come in.
One of them. So it's as a magician, I am quite well known within the magic industry as being a good performer. And I go out there and I walk onto stage, or I do close-up magic, or I do corporate functions, I do weddings, anything. And I'm known as being a good performer. Now, a lot of magicians, I think it's like 84% of magicians on the planet have never performed a trick to anyone. So they buy the magic tricks because they really like them. And then they spend hours and hours and hours learning the magic tricks. And then they never perform them to anyone because they haven't got the confidence to do it. So I work with magicians, professional magicians that are running stages and doing tours. But I also work with magicians that have never performed a trick to anybody. And it's about, you've got that skill, you've spent the time, like being at uni, you've spent the time, you've done the research, you've done the practice, and you've developed that skill, but then you don't know what to do with it because you can't talk to anyone. So it's really important to have communication as well as your hard skill that you've learned.
What's a big mistake you often see then when people are trying to impress professionally? Because you must see that all the time, given what you do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do so many corporate functions. It's one of the biggest things that we do is dealing with corporate people in the corporate world and trying to entertain them. The biggest mistake and it's the one thing that's so easy to rectify and really hard to rectify at the same time, is being yourself. So it's really easy to fall into the trap of being who you think somebody wants you to be. And there's a massive difference between being able to adapt and being able to speak to different people in their language and being fake. And people can see straight through being fake. So I think the biggest mistake that people make when they are entering the corporate world, and I've seen people do it that have been in the corporate world for years, is not being themselves. So I think it's really important that we drum home that whatever happens and whatever tools we can give people, whatever people learn when they're at university, or whatever influences they take from the people that are molding them, great. Take as much influence from people as you can. I've been influenced by so many people over the years in all different walks of life, but I've always tried to stay me. And it's the hardest thing in the world to be yourself.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously you kind of touched on it earlier, which is like, we hear the same thing from employers quite often, which is like, some students do struggle to start a conversation, or they just walk up, and I think it's that panic thing, isn't it? They go, I need a job. And because like you said, it is scary. It is scary.
Terrifying.
And it's when, and we do have some really big employers coming to the expo. And I think then when you're sat there and you see all these big names of things that, you see adverts for on the TV, like we've had Gymshark at the university, welcome back Barclays this year. I think, we've got stuff like Saints. Obviously, there's a big thing on them because obviously the Rugby and the World Cup is here at the moment. They're playing at Saints. So I think it's quite terrifying when you see all these names that are really some of them are worldwide. And
then all of a sudden you're still...
and then all of a sudden you're like, how do I have this conversation with you? So why do you think that happens? Why do you think people just end up either struggling to hold conversation, or like you said, just panic blurt out
It's a multitude of reasons, isn't it? It's the same reason anybody panics in any situation. It's because they don't know what to do. So if you building rapport with people and being able to hold a professional conversation is not something that people are born with. You have to learn how to do that. And if you're a student and you've never been in that situation where, you've had to go out and speak to professionals about getting a job, you've never done that before.
No.
So how do you, if you don't know, you don't know. And it's a lack of confidence. It's a lack of knowledge about how to deal with those kind of situations. So one of the things that we're going to try and do is flip that on its head. It's perception. It's how you look at that situation. So all of those people that are sitting behind those desks, they're industry professionals, top of their games, massive names, worldwide, global names. They're terrifying. But all they are is people doing a job. They're there to employ you. That's what they're for. They're not going there to make you feel bad. They haven't taken time out of their day and traveled for however long they've traveled to go and sit behind a desk and call you names for a week. That's not what they're there for. They are there to find the next big thing within their company, the person that's going to continue their brand. They're there to make their workforce better and stronger. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. The whole expo is about recruitment. It's about getting more people into these big companies. So they're going to go there with their bosses going, we need to make this worthwhile.
Sure. Go
and find some people. So all you've got to do is make it easy for them to employ you. That's it. So it's not, oh my God, this person's really scary. It's, if I do a good job, that person really wants me to work with them. And it's about changing the mentality and changing the way that you're looking at the situation that you're in. It's not scary. They're just a person. You speak to people every day. And this is about something that you actually want to do. It's not chatting to the person at Tesco because they've just had a conversation with you and you're on your lunch and you want to get out of there really quick. This is something that's really important and can change your entire life. So it's exciting. It's a good thing. It's not something you should... Nerves and excitement are exactly the same feeling. If you think about any time you've ever been nervous about something that you want to do, going on a roller coaster, walking onto stage, do you know what I mean? It's something that you want to do, but you're nervous about it. But nerves and excitement are exactly the same feeling. The only difference between those two feelings is how you perceive it. So one of the first questions that I would ask if I was at one of these expos as a student and walked up to one of those tables is, what positions have you got available? Tell me about what I can do within your company, what you would need me to do within your company, and how far I can go. And then you just sit back and let them talk at you for 15 minutes because they're excited because somebody's asked them a question about their company that they're passionate about.
That's actually, because also I think there is this, I think there's always this thing, and I remember I had this as a student as well, of like, oh, so Barclays is a great example, right? Like, oh, they are a bank. so it's finance. Well, no, they have HR, they have marketing, they have, they have, I mean, that's just some really limited, like, I'm trying to think how many positions are available there, but like, but every company, like most companies, even like design agencies have finance, they have other people. So it's about understanding that it's not just because you're doing accounting doesn't mean you need to work for a bank.
Yeah, of course.
Just
Have you ever
because you're a
seen a
designer.
Barclays advert on the TV?
Well, yeah.
Somebody that works for Barclays made that.
Yeah.
So they've got a social media, they've got a marketing team, they've got all of anything that's in kind of like the arts.
Yeah.
You could put into a job in a bank or or a bakery or any, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a big brand, it's a big company, they've got marketing budgets, they've got a whole marketing team. So just because you've done your degree in social media marketing doesn't mean you have to go and work for Google.
No.
You can go work for anyone that does social media marketing, which is everyone.
Yeah.
So you can literally you've just got to think outside the box. Like you could be a really, really tiny fish in Google that sits in a corner all day and nobody ever talks to them, but you've got a job at Google. Or you could be the social media marketing manager for a tiny little company, but then you're the one that's helping build that brand. So it's where you want to go into the business and what impact you want to have on it. So I would always rather go into a smaller company and make that company better and bigger and grow with that company than go into a massive company and be an unknown name for the rest of my life. You need to think about how much impact you're going to have and where that impact can take you.
So obviously we've kind of spoken about like soft skills, and I think they're becoming more and more important now. And I think obviously we kind of touched on it earlier because technology is ever growing, it's ever changing. It's such a huge part of our lives, right? Like everything is so easy. Everything's like in anyone's hand all the time. Like send a WhatsApp, you can like it's kind of taken out the, I guess, like before it's like you had to phone somebody. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that, especially from doing this podcast and the people that we've spoken to, one of the biggest things that's coming out in this is soft skills are equally as important. But why do you think they're becoming more important than ever?
Because of technology, because of AI. That's exactly why it is. I mean, hard skills are being replaced daily. Technical skills, they can and are being replaced more and more frequently. Every day, another job is being lost to technology.
Sure.
But they can't replace empathy. They can't replace creativity, leadership, communication. They can't replace human skills yet. I'm sure they'll find a way. But at the moment, they can't. So even in like highly technical roles, you still require teamwork. You need to be able to work with the team. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to collaborate with other people in other sectors and other areas of that business that you're working, or other businesses in the world. You still need to be able to communicate with people, and you still need to be able to do the things that technology can't do yet. So businesses are looking for humans with those skills. So even if you are an IT AI god and you can do everything, but you can't communicate with the rest of the team that's around you, you're not going to be any good, because you're not going to be able to develop. They're not going to be able to use what you're doing because you're not going to be able to communicate how it works or what it does, or you know what I mean? So companies now, soft skills are becoming more and more and more a thing that companies are looking for, because if teams are getting smaller and there's less and less jobs, the smaller the team, the better the communication has to be.
Yeah.
So they're doing away with office managers because there's 200 people in this office, and one office manager has to deal with another office manager of another, the other next floor up, and then all of those office managers to come together to deal with the person on the top floor. A lot of these massive businesses that are 15, 20 stories high are now only 5. So you don't need as many managers and you don't need as many people to do the same job, because AI is taking over a lot of it. But those people that are in there, you can guarantee, if you're still in these companies that are downsizing, it's because you can communicate with the rest of your team and you can work well as a team.
Yeah, you have a skill.
You have that skill as well as being able to do the job. So if you've got somebody that can do the job and another person that can do the job, but also speak to the rest of the team, that's the person that's going to stay. That's the person that's going to remain employed.
So obviously, we've spoken about competences, like you've said about mindsets anyway, but for students who may not be able to attend your workshop, and they're obviously going to be feeling a bit nervous or awkward about, like we said, going and speaking to these employers, what's one simple like trick or mindset shift that they could use like straight away?
Breathe.
Sure.
Breathe is one thing that everybody can do,
Mm.
but very few people do it well. And it sounds ridiculous to say, but there are so many different ways to breathe.
Mm.
And that's a really tough question. Just off on the spot,
Yeah.
Give everybody one thing they can do straight away that's going to make their life better. Cheers, Jay.
You're welcome.
But what I did without even realizing I was doing it, because I've done it for that long, is I went,
yeah, take a pause.
I took a 2-second breath. It's something that it's really, really easy to do. It's called a power pause. That's what it's called.
That's cool.
It's called a power pause. So you take a really long 2-second breath in, not that audibly, but you I was doing it because this is a podcast. But you take 2-second breath in.
Yeah.
And what that does is it fills your body with oxygen. It calms you down. It gives you a chance to think. From somebody that you're standing and talking to, if you're standing to a professional, or whoever it is that you're talking to, if you stand and take a 2-second breath in, they're like, oh, they're thinking about the answer. They're contemplating what I've said. They've listened to me. They're processing it. They're contemplating it, and they're going to come back with an answer. And that, within a professional capacity, is invaluable. Because if you were to ask a difficult question to most people, their brain would go, and then whatever just came out of their mouth would come out of their mouth. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, because the first thing that comes to mind isn't always a good thing to say.
No.
So it could be anything that then vomits out of your mouth. But if you take a breath and it gives you that 2 seconds, is a really long time, because your brain is a super clever thing and it's going to find the answer. Your brain will find the right thing to say. Sometimes you just need to give it a little bit of time, right? So if you take that 2 seconds, and then, like it did with me, I was like, oh my God, that's a tough question. What am I going to say? How am I going to influence all these people? Oh my God. And then I went, oh yeah, just breathe. Yeah, that's probably the right thing to say. Let's do that.
So obviously you've kind of said what you want students to walk away with, and I think that's kind of been the thread throughout this whole conversation, really. But so if a student is listening to this and thinking, I really want to go, but that also sounds really terrifying, what would you say? Because like it is, right? We were sat here going, oh, you can do this and that, and like, and for some people, like especially if you're quite an introverted person, it's quite scary. The idea of walking into a workshop where there's lots of other people there, and you've got someone like yourself who is very charismatic, then trying to teach them how to talk to people, and they're going, oh, I can't even have a general conversation, like let alone that. Like, what would you say?
It's tough, isn't it? Because again, it's individual. It's I'd hate pigeonholing people, and I hate putting everybody under the same thing. Just because everybody's a student doesn't mean that everybody's not an individual human being. So it's how you work with, and that's one of the things that helps when you've got a good connection, when you can build a good connection with people, when you can build a good rapport with someone, is that I can walk up to pretty much anybody at this point and have a 2-minute conversation with them and know how they want me to speak to them. And that's not being inauthentic. That's just me figuring out how that person communicates, and then communicating in a way that makes it easy for them to understand me. Sure. And that is building rapport. That's how you do it. But if somebody's walking into the expo or into the work, please don't walk into my workshop and be scared. I'm lovely. I'm really. I'm
Disclaimer.
I am. I'm not going to put anybody. I'm not going to put anybody in an uncomfortable situation. I'm not going to pick on people. I'm not going to bring people to the front and dance for me. It's not. That's not how it works. And so please don't feel worried about coming to the workshop if you are. But one thing that I would say is, the vast majority of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life were preempted by being absolutely terrified.
Yeah, me too.
So walking out onto stage at the O2 in Birmingham, terrified, standing on the side of the stage. The band that I was in at the time, when we opened a set, we had 1 minute, 29 seconds. I'll never forget that number. 1 minute, 29 seconds of musical intro before I actually did anything. Yeah. So I used to stand off to the side of the stage. And I'm standing there on the side of the stage, looking at my band, all 4 of them, standing on the stage, playing 1 minute and 29 seconds of music. knowing that I'm about to walk out onto that stage, and it's the longest and shortest 1 minute 29 seconds of my entire life every single time we did it, and I was petrified just before we went live at America's Got Talent. Couldn't have been more terrified.
Yeah.
One of the best things I've ever done in my life. Doing stage magic for the first time, I could barely stand. My knees were just giving way underneath me. And the second I walked out onto that stage after they said my name, one of the best things I've ever done. It's just incredible. Walking onto stage at the Genton Arena in front of 20,000 people.
Yeah.
Just a mind-blowing experience that I'm never going to forget. But I was very nearly physically sick before walking out there. It's just, you have to kind of, again, fear is the same thing. If you're scared of something, it's a good sign. And I've learned over the years that if I'm nervous or excited and I'm wary about what I'm about to do, it's because I care.
Yeah.
If I was about to walk, I've said the second that I'm not scared before I walk onto a stage is the last time I ever walk on a stage.
Yeah.
Because if you're not scared and you haven't got that nervous energy, you can't put that into performance, you're going to be terrible. There's no point doing it. For me, that's how I feel. So if you are scared, great. It means you care.
I actually think it's very similar when you go into interviews, right? Like the amount of people that sometimes we say, oh, how's the interview? They go, oh, I'm not really that fast. And it's like, well, then you kind of know that it's not for you, right?
Yeah.
But you have to try these things. Whereas I think actually when people go into interviews and they've done all this prep and they're really nervous, it's because they care about it and they actually want it.
Exactly.
And I think people, like you said, I think it's about utilizing that in the right way.
Use the feeling, use the fear. If I'm standing on the side of the stage about to go on and I'm not scared, that's the scariest thing in the world. Because I'm like, why am I not scared about this? Like, I should be scared about this. And it's only happened a couple of times. And then the times that it has happened, I've walked onto the stage and it's been a terrible gig. Yeah. Because I didn't have anything in me to perform it. So you need that fear. You need it. It's a good thing. You have to embrace it and use it to its best. And then you'll feel much better for it.
To finish it off, I'm going to do some quick fire questions because you did so well so before. Worst networking advice you've ever heard?
Worst networking advice I've ever heard. Oh God, there's so much. There's so much. Some of the companies that I've worked for in the past have just been horrific. And you hear them telling new people that are coming into the company and giving people advice, and it's just like, oh my God. But generally, I don't want to give one. I don't want to focus on negative stuff, and I don't want to.
Sorry.
I know, but I don't want to focus on any negative stuff, and I don't want to get putting that out there. There are people out there that I disagree with, but generally speaking, if somebody's giving advice, it's because that's worked for them. And if that works for them, great. That means it's not bad advice because it's something that they've done that works for them. But it's just something that I wouldn't choose to do myself. So sure. I think that you have to, if you're going into industry, or you're going into any profession, there's always going to be somebody that's been there longer that's going to tell you what to do or try to tell you what to do, which is great. And if you can find the people that work the way that you work, and if you can look at somebody and go, actually, I like the way that they do things. So if they're going to give me advice, then I'll do that. I'll use that as an influence in order to be able to mold myself in that direction.
And so what would be your favorite conversation starter?
So as part of my job as a close-up magician at corporate events, my line when I walk up to a group of people, whether it be a table or a group of people standing up at a bar or whatever it may be, I have to inject myself into that conversation very, very quickly. So I'm walking up to a group of people that know each other and all work for the same company and they're all friends and they're all standing around having a drink together. And as a stranger, I have to walk into the middle of that group of people, take over the conversation, and then hold that conversation and be the most confident person in that space for the entire time that I'm there.
That sounds like my worst nightmare.
I know, it's horrible. For most people, it's just like, why would you choose that as a career? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
So whenever I walk up to people, the first thing I say is, hi, my name's Matt. I'm not just some weirdo that walks up to strangers at parties. I've been paid to be here. I'm kind of a magician. And then people go, oh, hi, Matt. Wait, kind of a magician? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of a magician. I'm more of what they call a mentalist. Tell you what, I'll show you what I mean. And then I just go into something.
Yeah.
But my favourite introduction is I'm not some weirdo that walks up to groups of strangers
Amazing.
at parties. I've been paid to be here. And I must say that 50 times a week. I do, that's my line that I say whenever I walk up to a group of people. So, I mean, that wouldn't work in every scenario,
Well,
I'll
no.
grant you.
Maybe, okay. I mean, I just say your favourite.
But for me, it works. Yeah, you did say my favourite.
Your favourite.
So
Yeah,
that is my
that's fine.
favourite. That's what I use all the time.
Amazing. Okay, well, obviously, we're going to see you on the 14th. You've got 2 sessions running on the same day, so I look forward to seeing you then. And thanks very much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And if anybody is nervous about coming on the 14th, please don't be. Just come and say hi, and we'll all be friends.